Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. We are the KC Soccer Journal. My name is Cody Bradley. We're back in person for the offseason. I'm here with Thad Bell and Zachary Cobb. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me.
What a joy to be here. It's like December. We're moving into the holidays. We're all together.
We've had some time to let the wounds heal from last week. We've had a week off from this. How are you feeling after a week?
Hey, you know what? We had a great season. It's a tough playoff game, obviously. But I feel good about the trajectory of the team, and I think that's the most important thing for me. Obviously, it was a disappointing game, but...
Yes, the trajectory, we now have more view on what that will be after Friday. They just released all of the roster decisions. All of that is out. We had the conference finals in MLS playoffs happen. MLS Cup is set. And also Pro admitted their mistake. A little bit of vindication. Doesn't make anyone feel any better. But so we've got several things to talk about. But we're going to start off with the roster moves on Friday. We're set, Thad.
We are.
Nothing's needed in the offseason. Our team is set, 24 players. We're ready to go.
I wouldn't quite go there.
Okay.
I would say we have a base.
What
I
if
know
it
what the base
was
is.
like FIFA and they had like the card packs when we opened one, and that's who we got in the offseason?
What a way to do this.
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
or with the declining the options or accepting them, they did like a dodgeball thing. It's like you're picked, in the gymnasium type thing.
And then we could even get like a boosted Johnny Russell card.
A boosted Johnny. Like, I don't know if he could be any more boosted. I don't know if that's a thing.
I think that card's expired.
That's from FIFA. That's from an old version of the game.
All right, so let's just run through these roster moves here. Out of contract is Cam Duke, Kendall McIntosh, Gotti Kinda. The team has made their quote-unquote bona fide offer to Gotti Kinda, which if he declines, the team will be due some form of restitution from that. Changes every year. We're not even gonna attempt to dive into all of the intricacies of all of this, but they did offer Gotti Kinda the bona fide offer. I don't know if he'll be back. Would you want to see Gotti Kinda back, Zach?
Absolutely. I think he adds a dynamic thing to our team. Oftentimes when things aren't working, he can kind of come in, slash around, move in ways that other players can't. He's really good on the ball. He can open up things for other people. And he just has this like controlled Tasmanian devil thing.
Yeah.
It's like he there's chaos on the field that he creates, but he's under control of it. And it's something I've always been impressed with and I like. And
that's different from Eric Tommy, who is not a controlled Tasmanian devil. Like, he is just a bit wild, where Gotti does seem to have more control over that.
You know what's really funny is you saying that just made me think in my head. I always think of Eric Tommy as very vertical and Gotti Kinda is very horizontal.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like Eric Tommy is just going to run at you and do whatever he's going to do. You know, Gotti Kinda is going to kind of move, east-west and figure something out in a lot of ways and kind of get that key pass.
So if one's vertical, one's horizontal, do we need a angle guy to complete the triangle?
Yeah, I think we need to bring.
That's the other midfielder that does that.
Yeah,
Remy.
Who's the young kid we lost to LAFC that we drafted?
Latif.
Yeah, we need
Blessing.
Latif. I think maybe he can be the angle guy possibly. I think he can. He's all angles. So if we just tell him to do certain angles, that system's gonna work.
Yeah, he'd have to remember that though.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges there.
Yeah.
Thad, are you wanting to bring back Gotti Kinda, or is there a world of midfielders out there that we could find maybe cheaper, maybe better? I don't know. I'm throwing this out there. I have no thoughts either way on this.
I'd like to see Gotti come back. He already knows the team. We know what he's capable of. We know how well they can play when he's in there. Is there somebody out there better than him? Absolutely. I mean, there's unless you're on Man City or a couple other teams in the world, there's going to be somebody better out there. So, yeah, I think he's a really good MLS player, and I hope he comes back.
Do we know what the offer was? All I saw on the report was just they've made him a bona fide offer.
Yeah, I wonder what that actually means in terms of Major League Soccer. I would like to know. I'd like to see that in my industry. Like, hey, we made Zach a bona fide offer. Like, it's probably good.
Typically, it's whatever you were making before plus a certain percent.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense.
I did, again, without having dug through all the rules for this year or the off season, I don't know exactly percent, but it used to be something like plus 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's those two questions there. It's what is the minimum qualification for a bona fide offer? And then what kind of offer did Sporting KC actually offer? Are they saying we made a bona fide offer just because it technically they're reporting we did technically do this, or is it much beyond?
Yeah, and you're saying did they do the minimum, or did they give him a pretty good offer that shows they obviously want him in Kansas City?
Right.
I do really believe they want him back.
Yeah.
Whether, depending on, I don't know what that means as far as how much they offered him. The other reason you have to do a bona fide offer is so that you own his rights in case he ever comes back to MLS.
Right.
So if he didn't accept it, went back to Israel or wherever, and then came back in a couple years, they would own his rights. So somebody would have to trade for his rights.
Okay. That's a fine for Zach for that cough.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it.
Okay, so the players Sporting declined options: Roger Espinoza, Graham Zusi, and then we have Courtney Ford, Felipe Gutierrez. We're gonna reserve some time for Roger and Graham, but are you surprised by Courtney Ford or Gutierrez, Zach?
Gutierrez, no. I actually thought when we picked him up, he was going to do a little bit more than he did.
Yeah, definitely.
And it really wasn't that he played poorly, just didn't establish himself in any way, didn't really have a lot of time to. Courtney Ford, I think a lot of other people are higher on him than I am. I don't know. I didn't see it. I absolutely did see the promise, but I didn't really necessarily buy into it. It will be interesting to see his career, where it goes from here, because he's obviously very talented, and there's a spot somewhere for him. I don't know if it's in Kansas City.
They did say they were talking to him about coming back, but they didn't offer him a contract. I don't say they didn't offer him a contract. They've talked to him about coming back in some form or another. I forget the exact phrasing they used, but it was a little bit weird how they said that. Like, maybe they wanted to bring him back on the 2 team. I mean, I don't know. That's
and that kind of them saying that makes me think it'll happen.
Yeah.
I just feel like, unless obviously I think it's a situation where Courtney Ford felt like he could get something a lot better somewhere else, which, hey, there's a lot of soccer teams out there these days maybe, but I'm skeptical.
Well, refresh my memory. He was a USL guy much of his career before coming here, right?
No, he was with Colorado.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was loaned down to USL team, like their 2 team essentially. He's actually originally from Kansas City. He went there with some issues with his dad, I believe. His mom left and went there. And a lot of convoluted story there. And, he's went through a lot with that. But so coming back was kind of a little bit of a homecoming for him because he's been in the stadium as a kid watching the games and stuff like that. So there's a lot there to root for him to be with Sporting and to do well.
Absolutely.
He had some ups and downs. Like, I don't know that he got a long, consistent run, but there were moments, like you said, like you can see the promise there at times.
100%.
But he was also on that back line at times last year when we were just at our worst.
Yeah, but I felt like he was starting to establish a presence there.
Yeah.
And then the I don't want to call it substance abuse, but the illegal substance problem came up where he had been tested, and in the offseason when he was recovering from a previous injury, he had a trainer that was giving him smoothies to get him, keep him healthy and all this type of stuff, and it contained some substance that was not authorized. And so he got busted for that.
Yeah, what a bummer. It's like, this is Smoothie King's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I remember being really disappointed when that came out because it's like I could just see exactly how that could happen. You trust people.
Yep.
You're trying to get healthy. You're trying to do the things you should. You're not an expert in this and this and this. So you
just
kind of drink what they tell you.
Yeah, you have to rely that person is an expert. And
100%.
Okay. Zusi and Roger, guys. Do we have tissues ready?
Well, hold on. Cam Duke as well? Did Cam Duke get declined?
Cam Duke was just out of contract.
He was out of contract.
And there's no word on them re-signing him or anything like that.
I'm sorry to run into your progress there, but I just think, like, Cam Duke, like, I really like him. And I kept thinking, I was like, this is your moment. And maybe he's young. Maybe he's still going to have a moment. We're not closing the book on Cam Duke. But I remember being in the stadium and actually like yelling, like, this is your moment. Like, this is like he would be subbed on. I was like, this is your time. And he could be really dynamic on the field. And I really want these like young guys to be who we think they're going to be in so many ways. I'm always rooting for them. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way about Caden Pierre that I do about Cam Duke. So I saw him on the list as well. So maybe they'll work something out. He can still be in Kansas City, or who knows how that goes. But
yeah, I kind of doubt it because the phrasing was 3 players are out of contract: Cam Duke, Gotti Kinda, and Kendall McIntosh. Sporting KC has extended an offer to Kinda.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's pretty clear there. They just didn't think he had the juice.
Honestly, I think he needs to go somewhere else because maybe he can reestablish himself.
And we've seen that happen.
Yes.
We've absolutely seen that happen. You not working in Peter Vermes' Kansas City system does not mean you won't have success somewhere else.
Now, you're right. You're right that it has happened, but it's not none of these guys have gone on to be amazing. Jaleel Anibaba had a career elsewhere for a while. Is he still going? He was in Seattle for a minute. Who else we got? Jimmy Madronda was in Seattle.
He's going to play in an MLS Cup coming up.
Latif Blessing. Okay, but is Jimmy Madronda a top MLS player?
No,
by any means.
No, I just had to say that. Though.
He's been doing things, and I'm happy for him. But
Sunil Shetty left and remained an international soccer legend. So
still is. Is he still playing? Probably.
I hate to embarrass you on your own podcast, Cody, but. Sunil Shetty's out there, and he's still an active soccer player, I believe. Yeah,
I believe he is, but for what level?
Yeah, he's like the all-time leading scorer or something like that.
Man, a bunch of people in broken English are just gonna trash this podcast and reviews. Like I'm sorry to open up this Pandora's box, but it's gonna be a
You're
it's
the
gonna
one
be a whole
that brought
thing.
up Chetri. This is all your fault. No, but your idea there about Cam Duke that's how I feel about with a lot of those guys. Felipe Hernandez as well. Felipe still is under contract for 2024, but he's another one that's we wanted more. You saw it, you were waiting for it, and it just never quite came yet.
Mm-hmm. Just didn't establish himself long enough. But he's also another one that did himself harm by the gambling thing.
Yeah.
So he was in a spot where he was playing regularly, looking like, I think the week before he got suspended, he'd scored a goal or got, goal and assist. I mean, he looked good, looked like he could be a regular starter for Sporting. And then suspended for the rest of the year and then never quite came back.
So I feel like something that can help these young players out is let's avoid those 6-month bans or 6-game or whatever. Let's avoid those like long bans, like,
it's a good general rule.
Be careful with the smoothies. Be careful with the slot machines. All those things.
Seems a little hindsight is 2020 there, but
yeah, we're a podcast. That's what we bring to the table.
Literally what we're here for.
Can we change that phrase? Hindsight is 2020. Let's not phrase it that anymore. I don't want 2020 to be.
Wait, why? It was just a bad year.
Yeah. You remember that year?
Trying to forget it.
Hindsight.
I personally can't distinguish it from 2019, 2020, or 2021.
It's
so
all one
I
big
think
blur.
I don't like that year. I honestly don't know at this point.
Okay, we've got 3 true 96ers here, right? You were back in the day, weren't you, Zach? Were you at the original game?
I was around.
He was around.
Yeah,
calling it. True 96ers.
Yeah.
You weren't going to games then?
I was going to games semi-regularly in Arrowhead.
Okay.
But I wasn't, I'm not, my era is a little bit later, but I was around. I knew about the Wizards.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was too young to truly know what was going on, but I was at that first game, so I claim it. And being fans for this long, 2 guys that were a big part of our fandom for like 15 years are now leaving. Graham Zusi and Roger Espinoza said their goodbyes. Oh, well, I guess they didn't. The team said their goodbye to them. Very good, touching videos. Thad, what's going through your head with all of this? We talked about it last week, I know, and we kind of prepared ourselves for this. But now that it's happened, how are you feeling?
Well, having come to accept it a bit already, but it makes me sad because they have been such a part of this team, and I wanted them to go out on at least a slightly better high than something we'll talk about later in this podcast, a bad call in Houston. But, you want them to go out on a high, but truth is that doesn't happen very often. Jimmy Nielsen is the best example of when it does happen. Wins an MLS Cup, goes to Union Station, celebrates, and says, by the way, I'm retiring today. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, and you contrast it with Carlos Vela, got his goodbye in front of their fans, and he got applause as a walk-off, and that was just something we didn't get for 2 of our all-time faves, Zach.
Yeah, man, these guys meant so many things to different eras, different, distinctly unique eras of sporting Kansas City and the Kansas City Wizards. And, Graham, like, everybody kind of knows about about what they've done on the field, what they meant to the Wizards and sporting Kansas City. But I just kind of think about how neat of human beings both these guys are.
Definitely.
The funny thing about Graham Zusi is this guy would rather be camping somewhere than
at all times.
Yeah, I just think he's really funny because he does not like attention. He's a guy that's kind of an introvert. And it's really funny, the idea that someone is an introvert. It just happens that their job, what they do for a living, is a very public thing.
Yeah.
And I think he was constantly handling that. And it's really been fun to watch his growth over the years. Like, I remember years ago when the Kansas City was had the U.S. team in town, and everybody, this is when we'd have the night before party at Johnny's with the American Outlaws, all that fun stuff. I can't remember which game, but Graham Zusi was around, and there were some Cauldron folks around, and he's like, "Hey, are there any extra tickets for this game?" And we go, "Graham, do you need a ticket to the U.S. soccer game?" He's like, "Yeah." And we ended up setting up with a game, and then fast forward, he was playing for the United States team in the World Cup and, making assists and being a key player in a great team, playing at a very high level. So
that was after San Zusi too.
Yes. And I remember, and that's the thing, he had such a big impact. I remember him coming back from that, and I was like, hey, your life is really weird right now, isn't it? He goes, yeah, it really is. So I just really enjoyed his like friendly and humble nature. And there was a time where that guy was just unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was just carving teams up, moving in place in the field, creating things, creating goals. I believe it's Mike Kuhn who mentioned one of his favorite games, or it might have been Mike McGraw. It was one of the Mikes. And he was saying there was when the Chicago Fire were actually good at soccer, and we were kind of battling them at the top of the table, and there was a game in Kansas City, and he just absolutely took over, and we got a massive win against Chicago. It would have been 2012, 2013, something like that. And, there was just a time that he was so dominant, and then he accepted switching places that, he did great things, different places of the field, and just fantastic.
Well, that last part there was the key for me. He was dominant. He was that dude for a long time and gave us all of that. But what made him so big for Kansas City, this team, for the system, was his willingness and ability to just twice over change his position, change his job, and be successful at it. And that's just so Kansas City. That's why he ingrained himself with me.
Yeah, no, it was amazing how he was an 8, a box-to-box mid, went to the wing, then went to a right back, and played well. Did it at the national team level too for that. So it's credit for everything, and he always gets credit for like all of his humanitarian stuff because he does care about people, and you can see him get choked up when he talks about helping people. And just a personal anecdote is a friend of mine had contacted me saying his wife has cancer, and her favorite player is Zusi. And he's not a Sporting fan, so he doesn't really like Kansas City, but his wife loves Zusi, and I just
a lot of wives love Zusi.
Yeah, well, I don't blame them. I mean, but I just passed it through and asked if he would send her a little video, and they're like, yeah, and he sent her a little video, and she was had just went through chemo that weekend and was feeling perked her up, and she was happy and all that stuff, and I just mentioned to him thanks later, and I said it really meant a lot to her. He's like, oh, that means a lot to me that it meant something to her. And he was just choked up. So
humanitarian of the year.
Yeah.
I think multiple times, wasn't he? This wasn't just the first year he won that. I wasn't thinking, but maybe
there are 1 million more stories, just like the one Thad just said. And I think that's the thing. He was consistent all the time. And he was, I think, a balancing force in the team. It was funny to think about, he wanted to win soccer games, though. He's known as a nice guy, but very competitive. I always think of, the Kai, CJ days and the St. Patrick's Day celebration, and they were kind of doing the little jig, and he like throws the hat down. He's like, "Look, we got to keep playing soccer, guys." He's like, "Let's get back to this." So it's fun to see how he's impressed his personality on this team for so long.
You mentioned the growth. I loved this was around I guess MLS Cup 2013 years when he was getting more attention, and his interviews were always just so awkward. Like I loved them as a fan of the team. Like everyone loved them, but it's just awkward might not even be the right word. He was just different. Like he would sit there, listen to the question, maybe sit there and think about it for 10 seconds of silence, and then just very calmly, in a low voice, answer the question. It was just different, and he was just such an interesting guy. And yeah, like you said, he throughout his career, a guy that didn't want attention became adored by 2 different nations when he kept Mexico in the World Cup for San Zusi. And yeah, he got better at all of that, and he grew comfortable, but you can still see that introvertedness that he has.
Sometimes introverted is probably right, but just the thoughtfulness, because he doesn't want to answer in a way that's callous or casual. And that did get him in trouble one time, though.
Well, yeah, he was very aware that things he says go out into the world. I think it was very top of mind that what he puts out into the world has an impact. And what he says, it can go around or, it can go out in ways that he didn't want it to go out. So I think he's just very thoughtful during interviews, which is probably pretty refreshing compared to how someone fire off interviews or fire off tweets.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who does that.
I don't know anybody who does that.
And we are also saying goodbye to Roger Espinoza, man who took a like several $100,000 pay cut to come back and play for $86,000 this year. Never forget it. Never forget that.
I think that's just the last of the many things that you got to think about that guy, though. I mean, how hard he played, and he talked about people playing with passion and heart, and sometimes a little over exuberant fire
and long hair.
The man won an FA Cup.
Yeah,
and
incredible.
And sacrificed winning an MLS Cup for it. Also,
yeah,
poor guy won all those trophies, part of all these legendary teams, but skipped out on the MLS Cup year, unfortunately.
And I think something that's not known or underappreciated is Roger Espinoza is hilarious.
Yes.
Like, the guy is straight up really, really funny, and another nice guy. And another, I think something that's been underappreciated with Roger Espinoza is how he really took a leadership role amongst people that came into the team that were Spanish speaking, and really kind of took them in. I think Vermes trusted him to help out with people who English isn't their first language.
Every one of the videos where they signed a new player, Roger was that first one there.
Get
Welcome,
them
brother.
in, make them comfortable, and that's a really big deal. That is just a really big deal in Major League Soccer and in any soccer team. We're in such an international sport. And I think a lot of good was done by that may be unknown or underappreciated.
Absolutely.
It was all the young guys. Like, anytime you ask, like, who, any veterans take you under their wing, it was always Roger first. That sort of thing. He helped with everybody.
Has one of my favorite memories from a locker room, too. I don't remember who he was trying to distract. Some young player who had a good game and had all the attention and cameras on him and all of that. And Roger, facing him on the other side of the room, just screams his name. And everyone turns around, and Roger's opened up his towel and is just giving a little shake for everybody.
That's a good inside story.
And yes, that's what you need. Like you said, he's the funny guy in the locker room. Some things like that had to happen at the retreat. You need a guy like that.
And he was nice in a way that I remember, I'd be doing stuff around the team sometimes, and you get to know him, but I don't ever expect players to know my name or know me at all, because they meet so many people and your interactions are very minimal. But I live downtown. I remember walking downtown. He was out on a patio having dinner with somebody, and I just kind of nodded and walked by. Then a few weeks later, he saw me. He's like, dude, you saw me. You didn't even say hi. He was like offended, where from my point of view, I'm like, hey, this person's eating dinner. I don't want to bother him or whatever. I don't like to bother people. He doesn't know who I am. And he's like, man, you just like nodded and walked by like I was being rude. And I think that's a picture into how he saw people, how he connected with people, how he connected with Kansas Cityans in a way that I think is very cool. And Zusi could be the same exact way. They're linked in a lot of ways.
And of course, after we talk about how nice of a guy Roger is, we have to mention him on the field, red card Roger, in the trenches and all of those rivalry games, doing the gritty work that we've needed, always there for us.
He's just hounding people in that midfield, just hounding them. It was for so long. It was so fun to watch, and people would get so mad, and I loved every moment of it.
I don't have it potted up here, but someone mentioned they were looking for greatest moments from these two players, and Jimmy Nielsen told a story about Roger on this pod where he told Kyle Beckerman he was not going to touch a ball one more time for the entire second half, and Jimmy Nielsen confirmed that Kyle Beckerman did not touch the ball one more time in that game.
Out of fear.
Maybe I'll play that. Maybe I can add that to the intro if I remember. Okay, any final thoughts on Roger? Have we missed anything from Roger and Zusi?
Oh, no.
We could talk forever, I know that.
Mike Kuhn did a piece of remembering both those guys on the KC Soccer Journal, a lot of videos of different things, and one of them was a game, I think it was 2012, and he scored a goal and then got a red card later in that game. It got me thinking, because I'm also a hockey fan, there's what they call a Gordie Howe hat trick, where you get a goal, an assist, and a fight. I think if you get a goal and a red card in a game, from now on it should be an Espinoza.
Yes. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so it really does show we're just transitioning into a new era again. And, that's a good thing. Soccer is a young man's game. That's what we have to do. It is kind of a shame they didn't really go out on, I wouldn't say they didn't go out on their terms. It would have been nice if there was kind of a home crowd aspect to it, but those guys are very loved and they know it, and they'll always be welcome in Kansas City. It will be interesting to see how involved with Kansas City they are going forward. It seems like Roger's definitely going to be here.
Would love to
pretty
see
involved.
that.
Graham may just go away. We never hear from him again. I doubt that's going to be the case, but I'd imagine just hiking places forever.
Yeah, for real.
Contacting by satellite phone.
You think Roger is more coaching world or media world?
I don't know. I know he's done a little bit of coaching as part of getting a license, or trying to at one point. I would love to see him actually, become an assistant coach with the twos or with the first team, because if anybody's going to keep those guys in line, he will.
That's true.
That's perfect.
And how soon do you think they end up on the wall? Up on the legends?
That's a good question. I forget. They haven't been waiting very long. It seems like the team wants to populate that wall.
Well, Beasler hasn't showed up there yet.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a good point.
I would actually, in my perfect world, they would all three show up at once.
That's a good ceremony right there.
That's a great idea.
The three of them together, absolutely.
They probably, I don't know if they'll do it because, they'll want to be able to celebrate year by year, have somebody worthwhile to put up there each year, because I don't think everybody they put up there has been worthwhile. However, I think it would be a very fitting thing for all three of them to go up there, because they played so much part in so many games and so many cups and so much love, those three guys at the same time.
For a whole generation of fans.
Yeah. If nothing else, could we get a statue of all three of them walking off together out in the plaza?
Oh, off into the sunset.
Yeah, someone did mention that they think it'd make a good statue. It was a picture of Zusi and Beasler, though, and they were both arm in arm. They were both, one of them was holding up MLS Cup, and they were kind of arm in arm. And I was
I know the picture.
Ooh, that'd be a good little statue. Yeah.
Yep. You can throw Roger over to the side.
Yeah, we'll just
waving,
sliding in.
Yeah, we'll just put him in the background doing something ridiculous.
All right, we'll take a quick break and then come back and look at all the players currently under contract.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
All right, we're back. Let's run through the 24 players currently under contract for the 2024 season.
Ooh, doing a roll call.
Yeah, let's just go line by line, and I think we need to, because there's something needed at every line. They are down to 2 goalkeepers, Tim Melia and John Pulskamp. Where are we getting a third? Is there a Sporting KC2 man that can make it to the...
I don't think there's anybody ready to jump up there. Ethan Bandre was 2-team keeper. The rest of them were all loans down or academy guys pulled up, and he was let go in the release also. I don't think he's an MLS guy anyway. I mean, he might be a decent USL guy. Nice guy and pretty decent keeper, but I don't think he's going to make that jump. So my guess is they look at waivers, and this is how they got Kendall McIntosh. This is how they've gotten 5 keepers over the last few years. So I imagine they just go to the waivers and take the best one.
Okay. Yeah, that he would just be playing the third.
Yeah.
The second backup, so. Tim Melia's got another year in him, Zach?
I didn't think he had a year in him last year,
right.
And he showed me.
Yeah.
So I feel like somebody else is going to have to put the RIP on Tim Melia's career, because I don't know what I'm talking about, and good for him. What a great guy. What a way to come back and establish himself.
And
wow.
Stave off the young guy gunning for his job. that the team has kind of declared as the man of the future.
And I thought the same thing. And he was so dominant in so many ways. Everybody in Major League Soccer was like, don't go to PKs against Sporting. It's not going to work. It's just this. It's like the league can't agree on anything except for, boy, don't go to PKs against Sporting. Tim Miller is going to stop. I was like, what an incredible force to be able to establish yourself like that.
If only the Earthquakes had that idea instead of playing for. I guess that was the game that established it. Like, okay, just don't do it anymore. Don't go to PKs against them.
Well, that was only the 7th time it's worked for Sporting, for Tim Melia rather. So,
what do you think of Pulskamp?
I really like Pulskamp. I really like Pulskamp. You know, it is hard sometimes to judge who's at fault between defenses and goalkeepers.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times where when Pulskamp didn't do well, I felt like, he was really hung out to dry on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe there was some bias there of just me wanting him to be the guy, thinking, hey, we need to move on. This is the next generation of this position. But, you know, Peter Vermes is one that sees him every day, and he's going to put out, as Thad said, I feel like the last time I was on this podcast, a long time ago when the whole team was in the doldrums, we were talking about Melia versus Pulskamp and about, you know, how we wanted this to be this or we thought this was this. And that was like, look, this is very simple. He's going to put out the guy who is most likely for Sporting Kansas City to win. There's no other factor. There's no, I want this to be the guy or I want Melia. That's not a thing. And you know, and Thad was right. And it looks like Vermes was right when his guy got healthy.
Yeah.
That's the way Peter's always going to be, man.
Yeah.
It's not about getting that guy time.
I respect
that.
Give
the win today.
Yeah, I respect that.
I love Tim Melia as much as anyone. I think he obviously was the man for the job. And I also would like Pulskamp to show that he's the guy. But my only concern, like looking at the situation, is are we doing this until Tim Melia does fall off? Like, are we in this until Tim Melia does have a bad year? Like, things have to go bad, and then John Pulskamp can prove himself.
I think as much praise as we just said about Tim, and very well deserved, I think each of the last 3 years he's had periods where he's not been great.
Yeah.
Now, this year it wasn't as much because he was coming back off of injuries and stuff like that. His maybe all of his good time was after injuries, which is good. But I think he has slowed down a little bit. He's not as fast as he was. He's just smart and is in the right spots and stuff like that, which is something that's experience versus youth.
Is he transitioning into a Jimmy Nielsen type keeper where he's just like, I'm going to be in the right position. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to be smarter. I've read this book before. I'll tell you how it ends.
I don't dive to make saves. I just stick my foot out because I'm in the right spot.
Yeah. Cody asks, is it better to burn out or to fade away?
Right. Yeah.
The eternal question.
All right. Defenders. As far as outside backs, we have Jake Davis, Tim Leibold, Logan Ndembe, and Caden Pierre.
Logan, why'd you have to get hurt?
Yeah, that one hurt us, didn't it?
It made me sad.
So 4 outside backs.
2 of them are hurt.
2 of them are hurt, and there's a lot of youth in there as well.
Jake, Caden, and Logan.
Yeah, they're all young.
I know that's a good. That's the one line we have that problem, if you want to call it a problem.
Yeah, that's true. I was actually going the other direction of like, are any of those guys proven like a for sure thing as an outside back that we have going forward?
No, as good as Jake was this year, it's his 1 year, 2/3 of a year, that
and as good as Logan. Same thing with Logan.
Yeah, because he
also not a full season.
He had good games and bad games last year, and then all of a sudden this year it just came on when
came on late,
hurt, but was really strong for a good long period of time. I mean, I kind of looked the other day and he started there for longer than I thought he had, but he really came on strong and just got better and better. So maybe when he's healthy, he's doesn't have to make that leap that he just did.
Volader could also be considered like on that depth chart for outside backs. Do they need someone else there, or if they do need something, would they just go to SKC too?
I don't know that they can, because the one guy there that would have been a good replacement is they let go. So,
okay,
he was the guy that was probably most likely to be able to step up.
Does Caden Pierre's, is there anything about his injuries that have us, does he have anything that's an injury that's a holdover into next year? I mean, beyond like you're always worried about someone getting injured again, but he doesn't. It's not like Logan where he has to work into the next season or anything.
No, it's a hamstring. So. It was the second hamstring of the year, though.
Yeah, makes sense.
So to me that's a little worrisome, but a young second hamstring. Maybe he needs to do something better. Take different care of his body. I don't know.
So I think at this point, Shades of Blue listeners, if there's anybody that can donate a hamstring to the club. Sometimes your club needs you to step up as a supporter and go, beyond.
But it needs to be a young, healthy one.
A young, healthy one. Yeah, we don't need an old, tired, stupid hamstring. Don't disrespect us. Don't. You bring in some quality stuff, and we'll go through the applications, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Remaining center backs: Danny Rosero, Andreu Fontes, Robert Castellanos, Chris Rindolph, and Robert Volater. Also, a lot of questions there. I think, for me, the first two I said, those are two MLS center backs.
A lot of people might disagree with you.
A lot of people are going to disagrey with me.
How old is Fontes?
On Fontes. I believe he's going to be
75?
34. I think he's 34 next season.
Something getting like faster.
I'm the one with the computer. I should look this up, but
I think you're close to right, if not right.
Center backs. Are we signing a new center back? Is letting go of Courtney Ford a sign that they're bringing somebody in?
Since we don't know exactly what capacity they're trying to bring him back at, because originally I thought Ford coming back would be the wild card to fill in one of those two spots as a starter if they needed to. But with not knowing exactly how that's going to turn out, I would hope they would go find another one. If they don't re-sign Ford, I mean, they have to know what condition Ford's in better than I do. He was out practicing. I mean, at the end of the year, he was not ready to come start or anything, and plus he was on season-ending injury anyway. But he was practicing and looking okay, in small-sided games.
I like Fontes, and I think as a third center back, that would be good. But as it stands right now, if Castellanos, or I guess it's Castellanos, would be the number 3 over Volater.
I will say
that doesn't make me feel good going into this.
And that makes sense, and I don't disagree with that take. He came in late against St. Louis, the home St. Louis game, and did really well.
You did. It was a short shift.
It was a short shift, but we needed him because we ran through St. Louis so hard. I think we kind of forget, be like, that was a little weird there at the end of that home match. They had a little momentum towards the very end. He kind of helped shut that down. I do agree with your take if he's the third guy. That's not fantastic. I do love the way Rosero came on as the year, and they him and Fontes were working together, which Fontes is such an up and down.
Yeah,
he does so many things well, but then something just completely ridiculous that you've never seen happens to him.
But there are times he can get exposed. Like he could go 2 games with 96% passing, doesn't make one bad pass, but just depending on what happens in the game, like if he has to run someone down or someone runs by him, he's going to look bad. It's just if he gets exposed or not. He can kind of get hidden for a couple games, I think.
You wonder if part of the center back problem in Kansas City has not only been individual performance, but the fact that 2 of them, whoever they may be, just haven't gelled.
Yeah.
And so it does seem like Rosero and Fontes have gelled in a way that was working for everybody involved, for our defense, that let us make a kind of a late season run. So Fontes does make me nervous sometimes, but you worry. It's like if the sum of those works, then it works.
He just turned 34, by the way. So he's 34 all next season.
It's up there.
Yeah. But going with what you're saying, it's a sum of the whole, not the individual parts, right? So sometimes the sum is less and sometimes it's greater. It depends on how they all merge together. Fontes is a very good center back as far as positioning, passing, and that stuff. He's not the fastest guy. Sometimes he may not get the header that comes through, some of that sort of thing. When teams are in bad form, you see that a lot. But when you have a fast guy outside of, like Logan, Fontas looked really good when Logan was at his prime because he had cover. Rosero could stay back. He has some speed, and he could stay back. So Fontas could wander forward a little bit and kind of be that extra midfielder when needed. So when you have the things to cover the weaknesses of the other players, the whole team's better. When they're not working together, that it falls apart, and those guys look terrible, and everybody goes, why did Peter ever sign that guy? You're not going to always find a fast, good ball handling, good defending center back that they can afford because those guys are at a higher level.
But I think we've established one thing they need is a starting or going to challenge for a starting spot of a center back.
I don't disagree with that, because like you were talking about Castellanos, I don't know that he's ever going to be a MLS starter, but he's 25, I believe, and so he's in that he could mature into it still. I would love to see a 22-year-old that's capable of that then we can turn around and sell in 3 years for a couple $1 million, but that's what Voloder was supposed to be.
You gave that past tense, so have you given up on Robbie?
Not given up.
Zach, last week we were talking about the three. Yeah, so we were talking about the three U22 guys, and I was saying it feels like a win with Logan, a maybe with Voloder, and a no with Shawnees.
Do you still love Shawnees?
A little bit.
Okay.
No, I think, my love is very conditional. My love is very conditional, and I have to go back and look at the terms of my love, and it's like MLS machinations with the contracts.
It's not a guaranteed love.
Yeah. I've made a bona fide offer of love,
right?
And it hasn't always worked out. Yeah,
so they have to match that with performance in order to get the benefits of your love.
It's a complicated system, but it's my system. If you want to be in the world, and
I feel like this could take a really weird turn if we kept that up for very long.
Okay, well then I'm going to move on to the midfielders. How about that? 6 midfielders are on the roster: Ozzy Cisneros, Danny Flores, Felipe Hernandez, Nemanja Radoja, Eric Tommy, and Remy Voltaire. I think for me, well, especially if Gotti is gone, the fans are going to want to see a big signing here in the midfield.
Are the fans smart? Open question. I'm just going to let everybody let that marinate.
Generally, you have to say no to that. There are, of course, a lot of smart fans.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like our midfield as it is. Hey, if we make a big signing, that's amazing. I think Remy Voltaire has been so good, and we have Kinda, who I think we're going to bring back Kinda.
Okay.
I know we have, and I feel like he's going to come back.
There's a lot of complications to that, but keep going.
That's fair. If we don't have Kinda, then I agree. We need to bring something in that that's pretty big, especially with a 4th DP slot. That's a big deal. It's something we haven't really talked about.
Yeah. If/when that happens.
But they might change the 3rd DP slot to be one doesn't have to be tammable, which means it doesn't have to be at a lower cost for anybody who's not completely confident with that stuff. But if they bring in a 4th one, that would also add the possibility for it.
So what I'm hearing is that we've taken TAM money and turned it into a verb.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure we're all on the same page.
Right.
I love it. I'm not against it. I was like, "Ooh, that's a verb now." Okay.
As much as I like Eric Tommy, I think if we don't have Gotti Kinda, if you were to stack up our attacking midfielder, our CAM, against some of these others around the league, I think that doesn't look that great. I do like Eric Tommy. He turned the season around. Do you remember there was a period where I was just incensed?
You hated Tommy.
You're
rational.
There was a 3-game period, maybe 2 games.
Cody was like, he is not a pinball.
Every touch of the ball he made was wrong. It was so bad for, and it was not that long. But I'm just saying there are times where he's a chicken running around with his head cut off, and we need.
Was
some
that time
more
period in the
pointed
first
attack.
10 games?
Yes, of course. Yes, it was.
Again,
when I was very frustrated by a lot of other things, and I needed someone to yell at. I yelled at.
I do remember Vermes mentioning that, I believe, because he was saying he's like,
and he cited Felipe
trying to do too much,
and he cited Felipe Gutierrez as a guy like this is what a guy that does more with less. That was at like one of those town halls he did, I think is where that came from.
And I mean, he said some similar stuff in different press opportunities also, but I think Eric tried too hard, and because he cared, him and Willie came in at the end of the previous season, turned the team around, almost made the playoffs. We're looking really good. It was all expected to be better for this season, and then it wasn't. We find out later that Willie's hurt. The confidence goes, results go bad. Some confidence goes down, and then now it's like it's just a spinning around the drain, kind of terrible. Everything going down there for that 10 games. Eric was trying too hard, and I think I know we've talked about this in the previous, but when he was the left of the two forward midfielders in the Sporting's formation, he tended to always be in the same spot as the left back and Shallowy. When he was more on the right side, he didn't but I thought he was better.
Eric Tommy came in for the interview. They're like, "What's your biggest weakness?" Like, sometimes I care too much. Sometimes I try too hard. That's just. And Vermes looked at him and be like, "Hey, man, I think you're my guy. I think you're my guy. We like that around here."
So as it stands now, we really need to keep an eye on the Gadi Kinda situation, because as it stands now, of those 6 midfielders, there's only 3 of them that have real MLS time. Felipe Hernandez has played quite a bit, I guess, but hasn't shown another level that we've been waiting on.
Hasn't cracked the field for a while, or not very much.
So as it stands, there's some reinforcements needed in the midfield. So keep an eye on the Gadi Kinda situation.
Yeah, because I think that's very torn between him staying here, which I think he would like to do to a certain extent, and going home because of everything that's going on in that area right now, and being with family. So, and then playing for the national team, probably that would help that too. But it's very complicated, and I just wish him the best in whichever way he goes.
I really wanted to mess with you and just ask your opinion on the conflict going on right now and just throw that to you and see what happened there, but I won't do that to you. Let's move along to the forwards. 7 forwards are on the roster. Steven Afrifa, Willie Agata, Alan Pulido, Johnny Russell, Daniel Shallowy, Kyrie Shelton, and Marinos Janis. How are we feeling about this attacking core, Zach?
Kyrie Shelton is going to have a big year next year.
Oh, no.
No, I actually don't think that's true. It is a variation of so many things, and this is just a fun game we play because we dig into the team. We know more than some people, but less than a lot of people about the team, and so many things are just variations. A lot of times you ask me questions, I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of my answer to every, is this going to be good? I'll be like, yeah, maybe, probably.
Well,
I'll give you a probably.
Everyone listening to this should know, maybe is the answer to any question you're hearing on a sports podcast. That's the real answer.
Not just us.
They're just,
and I am definitely not dragging the honorable shades of blue
but the point of what they do is just, it is a maybe, but you can't just say that. You got to make something.
We're all just chopping it up here. Yeah. I wonder how long does Johnny have?
Yeah. It's a fair question.
I worry about that a little bit.
Or that and what's behind them. I think our 2 wingers, the front 3 is a formidable front 3 in MLS. But after that, then that's the big question. So whether Johnny is going to have this next year or not, something is needed here.
I think you're right. It's a formidable front 3 when they're all healthy, when they're remotely in form, but that's not been consistent for, again, Pulido had a major knee injury, came back better than I thought he would potentially. Mm-hmm. And that type of injury actually often takes a full year. Once you're back it takes another full year for you to get back to being 100%. But again, age, all that plays into it. Johnny has been injured more the last couple years than he's ever been in his life. Mm-hmm. Doesn't look quite as dynamic as he did when he was at his prime, obviously. But you would hate to not have a team that doesn't have John. If we don't have a Roger Espinoza and a Graham Zusi on this team, we got to have a damn Johnny Russell.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
but wouldn't you love to have a Johnny Russell coming off the bench? Imagine if we had a guy that took that spot from Johnny.
Yeah, or at least swap starts.
Right.
Yeah, because another thing, we have a lot of competitions. even for a team that's not necessarily in intercontinental play right now, especially with the Leagues Cup.
Yeah, and Messi made the Leagues Cup matter. Now we got to like care about that. That'll be a big one again this year.
I really like the Leagues Cup.
It was fun, and I hated it.
Leagues Cup.
Like, it was fun, and it made me mad that it was fun because we didn't need it to exist.
I think I was the only one that was saying, yeah, I was kind of looking forward to it, just, get something different. And everybody's like, no, it'll suck. And then they're all like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, I kept an open mind. I was like, I think it'll be neat. But then when it actually happened, I was like, I want all of this, put this into my veins. We definitely do need some people. I mean, we're going to need some people to come on after Shelton is so exhausted from all the goal scoring he's going to do. They're just going to have to drag him off the field after 4 or 5 goals in a game, and we're going to need someone else. It would be exciting to have a young attacker come around and just kind of see what we have. What do we have with Afrifa? And did I say that correctly?
I meant to ask Thad that. I thought you might have some information on that. Stephen Afrifa. That you said it right for sure.
Yes. Or as close as we ever get to write anything.
As close as we're gonna get.
That was this year that they signed him, correct?
Yeah, he was drafted in the offseason last year, him and Chris Rindolph, and they were both signed. Afrifa didn't sign officially till after college was done because he went and finished college. It's kind of like an old-fashioned concept nowadays. And he went and finished college and got him in, but because he hadn't been playing, I don't think he really got a fair. I don't think we've gotten a fair look at him because he did come in late. He wasn't in with a team practicing regularly and all that type of stuff. He comes in and he had some opportunities, and I liked the signing when they drafted him. He kind of looked a little bit like a Gata in certain ways, but with a little bit different because he took advantage of anything in the box, so he looked good. But what I've seen of him this year, he just hasn't been that spectacular with the 2 team or the first team. But again, if you're gonna have him on the roster, you got to see what he does next year.
Yeah, he is. They exercised an option for this year, so they signed him. He was under contract for 23. He has options for 24, 25, and 26.
And when I think about our forwards, is it possible that I just don't know how we underappreciate Daniel Shallowy? Because I feel like I've done it. I feel like it's something I'm guilty of. And somehow, some way, he is so far up the list of people that get like assists in this club and goals. And obviously he's thought of as a key player and a big player, but he's not thought of. I feel like his production and how people view him is mismatched.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'm guilty of it as well.
Was it expectations? We were waiting for him to be like the superstar that he hasn't maybe done that. Is that like where this is coming from? Because I understand it. I think I've been guilty of it as well. I don't know. It's just the kind of player he is. He can disappear for stages of a game, but he's also that guy
or several games sometimes.
Or several games. But he's also that player that just needs an instant to snap that foot back and get that shot off.
Yeah. I mean, there's people in the South stands who spend all their time booing him. Wow. And we're like yelling at him to be subbed off. It was like the most insane thing.
Oh, wow.
I almost got into it with people. I was like, what are you doing? And this was during the playoffs when he had such a good run.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people think that. But I was seeing some stats about Xiao and how many he comes up in big moments.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's something
Showtime shallow.
That I think we need to and I expect him to have another good season. He's not someone that I'm worried about tailing off, but we'll see.
Well, I don't know if I would worry about him tailing off. I just worry about I would just like him to be a little more consistent in how he scores goals and keep that level higher. I love Daniel though because you got to remember he's technically a homegrown. He's been with his club almost his entire life. Because he actually went back to Hungary for a little bit and he came back. But he was so honored that he got to wear the captain's band this year. And that was a big honor for him. And he loves this club. He will often, if his contract's coming up and you say anything to him about it, he goes, oh, I want to be back. This is the club that I want to be with. It's not like, oh, I'll test the waters. It's, I want to be here. And so I'm going to love Shallowy for a long time for that reason, if for nothing else. If he doesn't score double digits for the next couple years, I'm still going to love the guy for that
And that's so funny because when other people have treated the club like that, that feels like part of their identity. It's out in the general knowledge base of people when they look at a certain player who's loyal or who's been with us for a while, and he doesn't really get that credit. And it's just something I was thinking about, and maybe another year he'll get there.
I know we need to do some more Espinoza and Zusi appreciation posts, but maybe I'll do a Shallowy appreciation post this week just to show my love for the kid.
I support that.
It's Zusi and Rogers time. Save that one for another week.
I'll forget.
I know this is an audio medium, but I wish everybody could see the disappointment on Cody's face. That was genuine
concerned
when he said this is Roger and Zusi's time. That was amazing.
We have years of Shallowy left.
We have
Come
years
on.
of Shallowy.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Looking at that roster, I going into this, I thought we were gonna have more of a wish list than after we just ran through that. The only one for sure thing I think we've landed on is a center back.
Look, this is what's going to happen.
There's a maybe in the midfield with Gotti, and
I'm going to get the Zach Cobb crystal ball out. And this is what's going to happen. You can just book this.
Just pause for a second.
Yes.
I like that your hands are in the same shape as our logo.
Yeah, he's acting out our logo right now.
It's like your crystal ball is either really big or you have disturbing thoughts of your.
Oh no,
it's all true. So in my crystal ball, which I'm miming at this table right now, is we're going to sign somebody pretty good, and you're not going to know their name.
Yeah,
and you're going to go to Wikipedia. Or you're going to go to maybe FotMob. There's a lot of good things to get information, and you're going to learn about them. And they're going to ingratiate themselves into our team just fine, and then you're going to know about them.
And we're going to get one of the highlight reels with absurd music.
Oh, yeah, crazy transitions. Crazy transitions.
Yeah. The really fast transitions, you got to go, oh, wait, which guy is it? Yeah. Oh, it's that one, yeah.
Yeah, this is our new player just housing third-level Croatian footballers right now.
The MLS offseason. Beautiful time.
I'm here for it.
But going back, though, didn't we say we needed a person at every line? Another keeper?
Yeah, but as far as a big signing, the big outstanding one, they're going to have to get a center back. They need some reinforcements on the front line. If Gotti's gone, if Gotti's here, they'll need some reinforcements in the middle. But the big shining example of this is where we got to get better. I think we need
a winger, probably a winger.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like you're thinking midfield.
I was thinking center back is where I was at.
Yeah, okay.
But if Gotti is gone, yes, absolutely
that's why I say all three lines because we'll count Gotti as the reinforcements.
Yeah,
because he's not a sure thing. But I'd say we need one person on every line.
Yeah,
the goalie will probably be a waiver guy or something like that.
But the center back would have to be that's who we want it to be the best, right? I know center backs are cheaper than a winger probably, but if we're going the most expensive, that's the most quality we need.
You just want to spend money.
Yeah, not my money.
there is a roster cap.
I'm good at spending other people's money.
I wouldn't go out and sign a DP center back, but I would want a center back that is at least as capable as the two that we have, at least as capable.
Yeah.
Do you think we can break that whole thing where we bring someone else from another MLS team and they're not bad? You think that's going to happen?
I think Matt Miazga might be up for.
Look, don't get me started.
I think
on that guy.
Ben Sweat
Those
ruined
guys.
it. I think Sporting will never do this.
This
again.
is be look, you just shut the door on your way out. We're not doing this anymore.
Was that we've got Justin Mapp was another legendary one of those. An old MLS guy, bring him in. I don't think he played a single minute.
Oh no, he did, but it was not a lot.
Brad Davis,
he contributed a little bit.
He did,
but
yeah, he wasn't bad.
But then Ben Sweat just push it all over the edge.
Justin Mapp was supposed to be the winger for the team, and then he ended up being hurt the entire time. He played it was 47 minutes or 62 minutes or some number like that.
It was that bad. You're right.
I thought it was single. I thought he subbed in one game at the end. But
it wasn't a lot, but it was one game. He didn't play a full game, but he was supposed to be the guy who was getting that time, and then Davis was supposed to be the guy who was just getting some time.
Okay,
he was hurt. So
we've gone over an hour here, and we're still gonna finish with this conversation about pro. But any other final thoughts here, rosters?
Zach talks a lot. Oh, wait.
I have my moments.
Did you know you said that out loud?
Yes.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
All right. Final segment here. On Saturday, a week after Sporting fell to Houston in Houston, pro referee released a video highlighting some of the controversial calls around MLS the week prior, and they admitted their mistake on the handball on the goal line in the Sporting KC game. Does this make you feel any better, Thad?
No. It does not make me feel better.
It doesn't make me feel better. There's some value there, though. There's a level of vindication.
You feel justified.
Just in the sense that it's it's not just whining about a call. We're not just fans bitching about
crazy
something.
Ones, yeah.
Right. It's so I saw comments on Vermes' response to all of this, and some of the fans are like, "Oh, stop whining." That you can't say that. We are actually correct. They made a mistake and gypped us.
I saw some fans on MLS Reddit and St. Louis fans and stuff like that. Quit your whining, blah blah blah. But it was legit. It was justified. There will always be fans who complain about some call and whine about stuff. But we do have an intelligent fan base. We do, at least somewhat, that know the rules. And that was a legitimate handball. That was a legitimate red card, penalty, setting up moment. And it's not the first time. And there was another potential handball in the box that should have been probably called too, but was a lot less clear. So I'm not as worried about that one. But it was a moment that could have changed the game. Yeah, Sporting wasn't the best team at that time, but they'd had some chances. But that is a game-changing moment. That's why you play those. It always bothers me that people say, "Oh, you got to play better than the ref is bad." But when you have a parity league and you have a league where everybody has the same roster size, the same amount of money that can be spent, little moments will be the key deciding thing. A big mistake, a referee mistake makes a big difference.
Well, I didn't want to. I'm not bringing this up again just so we can bitch about the call some more, but with the video that they released, Zach, it's pretty interesting that it's a week later, but we do get to hear the discussions that the VAR team is having.
Well, let me just get out in front of something. As Thad was mentioning, St. Louis fans on Reddit and Twitter can't tell me nothing. They don't have anything to say about anything.
Well, you got to give them a little credit, though. They don't have a lot of experience at professional soccer.
It's fair.
Or banter.
Yeah. So, I think people expected me to be angry about this. I didn't really go in on this online that much I know a lot of people love that. Some people hate it. I do think it was really tough, and it was disappointing because the game was so close. It was two teams. It was two real coin flip teams, and they were playing a coin flip game. And it really was disappointing because that we set this system up to take care of that. It should have been taken care of, and it kind of
there's a room full of people, literally.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It just seems like there was we got screwed by a process error almost.
Yeah.
So it is disappointing.
Have you watched the video that they released?
I read about it.
So I want to play some of this because I think it's interesting to it even works just for the audio medium just to hear the discussions going on here, but. There's a key moment in here, so I'm just gonna play some of this right now.
The low, so right here, 25%. 25. We're still checking for handball. For me, it's right here. It's on this upper arm. Everything natural. Ooh, and it gets a body. There's a bit of movement, but it's not his arm that's moving. He's not moving it out. He's bringing it in, and it's tight for me. I'm check complete. Yeah.
Another angle
Yeah.
if you want to take a look at it as well.
Yeah, but that I can't. Can you see that one more time?
Yep.
We're just still checking.
Okay, so I'm pausing it right there. Up until that point where she goes, I'm check complete, we had 4 angles that they were looking at. And instantly after she says, I'm check complete, is when we get that view from behind the goal that we all saw several minutes later in the broadcast that we were all like, oh, that's clearly a handball. And so I think it's significant that they had another angle that this video was going on for at least a minute before I started it. So they were looking at this for a full minute without even all of the angles that they had available. And I think it's significant that this comes in after they've done all of these things. They've done these checks that they think they've needed to do. And they've already, it's just, oh, there's one more angle here, just one more quick thing. Like, I think it's partially been decided in their heads. And if that angle from behind the goal is one of the 4 that they're originally looking at, I don't think they make this mistake.
I think it's clear before they go to that, though.
It is. Yeah, even we're watching it, and they're like, oh, the arms at his side, it looks like chest. I don't know what they're looking at. It is incredible to watch
She
them.
says he's moving his arm in. I was like, he's moving his arm in to
Towards
target
the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Well,
yeah.
At first, she says he's not moving his arm.
Yeah.
And then she says he's moving his arm.
It is genuinely astounding to watch them get it wrong in front of our eyes. Like,
And before that, it's the upper arm. Well, that's not the upper arm. It was right at the elbow, above the elbow, but it was right at the elbow because you could see all of that move.
So I'll keep playing this here, just the last couple seconds of this after they've started looking at this new angle.
Yeah, take your time. It feels like.
So he's got nowhere he can put the ball.
No,
They're doubting
exactly.
it.
I'm
His
going to check
arm is
complete.
not going away.
It's coming in.
Down.
It's
Yeah.
upper arm. Yeah.
It's
Check
in that-
complete.
Based on all the angles available to the VAR, Shevchenko's left arm appeared close to the side of his body with the ball hitting near his bicep. Normal considerations for no handball, and what the VAR took into account to check complete the play.
This is
However,
the key
there's
here.
a nuanced difference here that needs to be added to the analysis, and that is that Shevchenko is on the goal line.
On the goal
His
line.
overall actions are those of a player trying to prevent a goal.
So that's the official stance from Pro there. They showed us the whole conversation, how they got to that answer. But then at the end of this video, the guy explains none of that really matters because a guy's hand stopped a ball from going into the net. That was the bottom line that Pro has admitted here.
And that's the way the rules are supposed to be interpreted, and for some reason they weren't.
I wonder if part of it is that there's immense pressure. You know what? I'm just going to try and put myself in someone else's shoes right now. I imagine there's immense pressure for them to work very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Not an excuse.
And that video shows it pretty well.
Yeah, and that was a really neat video, honestly, to kind of see that process. So I actually do appreciate that, and I'm hoping, again, because I'm gonna go positive here. You know what? I'm gonna go positive here. I am hoping maybe through this they can fix that process so that it's more complete and that this doesn't happen again. Because obviously they saw like an error in the sequence of events that leads to calls. We'll see.
We'll see.
I'm still mad about it.
Do recall that this is the second time in 3 years that it's a bad call that has been VAR checked. Went against RSL in 2021. Obvious handball in the box. The guy bats the ball with his hand to redirect it.
Yeah.
And that's not given as a red card or as a penalty, which then drops Sporting to third, puts RSL into the playoffs, knocks, I think it was LA, out of the playoffs. And so it changed the trajectory of 3 teams for one bad call that they admitted to and apologized for later. So that's 2 times in that playoff affecting calls against Sporting Kansas City.
Well, thank you for bringing that up because I'm going to play some audio here from Vermes, who spoke, I believe, was this Friday? I think he was running through all of this. And he made that point.
It was earlier in the week, but yes.
The one that you're bringing up there, this isn't the first time this happened in a huge spot. It feels like this happens to this team. And I encourage you to go, it's on the KC Soccer Journal YouTube. It's like a 22-minute video of the full Peter Vermes press conference. But it's a rant, but he is very calm, cool, and collected. He's gathered And everything he's saying obviously is a good point. And he kind of sums it all up. I'm going to play a quick little spot here in the middle of it where you can just kind of see that he is going about this calm. He thought about all of this before. He was hoping someone in this conference was going to ask him about the handball. And I think he sums up his frustration and how it's not just complaining about a call, bitching about refs. Like he shows you how much goes into this. It's the players, it's everyone, it's ownership. There's millions of dollars that go into this, and the pain of them just getting this wrong, a handball on the goal line to eliminate you and end your season. It's so brutal, and Vermes does a good job here.
There's a difference with me and a lot of other guys, is that I've been at the same place for a long time. I've been doing this job in regards to coaching team for 15 years. And I truly do believe that we have lost out on a lot of other hardware because of the decisions that have been made in very significant games. And I got to tell you, I'm more than frustrated as the coach, and I'm more than disappointed when it comes to the players, the fans, because they're dealing with it as well. And then you have our ownership, who, you know, the time and effort and the financial commitment they make, and then, you know, we can't get that right. That's amateur. It's amateur, and it has to change. And it's not MLS. Pro has to figure it out for themselves, because you can't blame IFAB. You can't blame all this. It's pro. They have to figure this out.
He even gave MLS some credit there for making his point that it's not MLS's fault. Like, they've invested millions and millions of dollars to make sure things like this don't happen, and Pro still somehow lets it happen, Zach.
Yeah, everything he said is right, and I agree with everything you guys said. And, you know, I don't know what our rules here. You can bleep this out. I just feel like sometimes being a sports fan is kind of eating a shit sandwich.
Yes.
And you just have to do that sometimes, and it's part of I know it's part of my identity is just being like a miserable sports fan. That's part of it. And sometimes these things happen, and it's not okay. And that all the points that Peter Vermes made was right, but it just makes it that much better when things do work out. And sometime in the future, there'll be some nice moments where things do work out. It's just, you just got to keep on going.
We're still waiting.
Hmm?
Still waiting for those moments.
Some stars had to align a little bit for that run we went on, right? Things had to kind of be falling our way a little bit.
And there was some calls that probably did go our way and stuff like that in there. So I'm just being a little bit sarcastic.
But then remember Miami? Remember the Miami game? We got
Yes.
robbed in that one. No, things didn't fall our way. We were doing all of that in spite of things going against us.
Do you guys remember this? This has been a few years ago, but we were playing Dallas, and they scored. The ball was feet into the net, and but Melia saved it. Yeah, and there's that great Photoshop of like the goal line being
the angle.
Yeah, it's just funny to think about, like, over the years what the balance is of bad calls. I mean, if we're talking about bad calls, I can think about there was a year where in DC, I remember it was one of the Ike Opara years, because I remember it was an offside call, and I remember Ike being a part of it, that it was one of the worst calls I've ever seen, and we were like 2 points from being able to get the shield, and it cost us. I just think of things like that, it definitely has happened over the years. I can confirm Peter's thoughts independently.
Well, the parity of the league is the big factor of that.
It's just why it needs to be so accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there was big missed calls, missed VAR calls in EPL recently and in Champions League, and it does happen all over the world. So I always hate to bag on Pro because there's bad calls everywhere, and the reviews have not always been implemented well across the world. And I think MLS has actually done one of the better sets of reviews and under their guidelines, but it just does come out that we've been screwed by it a couple times now, and it does still need to be better.
That really bothers me, because it does help fuel this fire that some of the fan base has, that some of the fan base that thinks that everything that happens on that field is an uncalled foul against us, or everything some other team does is a foul and everything we do isn't a foul. And it gets really tiresome, especially kind of being in the cauldron. There's a guy that brings his own yellow card and just screams for 90 minutes.
You gotta have those guys in your fan base, right?
You know, we just do not need the guy that screams at the ref for 90 minutes. We just unsubscribe. Don't need that. And so, but it does kind of fuel that fire that, you know, we're always being screwed, which I don't think is did happen here. Yeah. But, you know, it doesn't always happen. And so it is frustrating. You see, you know, people feel like, you know, they're getting screwed out of the experience, which is not good for anyone.
But it is a standard thing of fan bases, because how many games have we watched and said, oh, the ref did a decent job today, and the opposing fan bases, oh, they were completely in that team's pocket.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I could remember a team across the state that was just complaining
that's
about
what I was gonna say.
How bad the refs were in favor of Kansas City in those 2 games in the playoffs. And it's like, oh, they were pretty fair. Yeah. And being in front of St. Louis fans in both of those games, I heard a lot of it.
Yeah, I came away from most games this year thinking the refs did a pretty good job. So that's definitely good. You know, it's just one of those things with sports, I guess we gotta deal with.
I do think most refs are being fair. I just think sometimes I don't like the way they call games. Like some refs will be, they won't call the fouls until like it feels like the last 10 minutes of the game. They'll finally throw a card. It's like, throw the card. It's a foul. You know, somebody got hurt. Just do it and just be consistent. I would rather the refs be kind of consistent across the league than this ref being consistent this way, that ref being consistent a different way. But that's another topic.
Thad, you got a little cold there, buddy?
Yeah, I do, man.
I heard the stopped upness increasing as we made it through this podcast.
I was trying to get my rant done and like get the pod over so I could go blow my nose, but you started segment 3 fast. I was gonna like pause it and go.
Yeah, I didn't take a break there. I'm sorry about that. We went very long. I think it's a normal thing. We get Zach around.
Yeah, I just started yakking.
Long. No, it's good. We got all off season. There was a lot to talk about. Big show with the roster moves. So
it's a great conversation having you on, Zach. I always appreciate you being on.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Much saner in person than on Twitter.
Other people make me that way.
Sometimes I can't believe you do that to yourself. Zach is our resident Kansas City trash talker on Twitter.
So I think it is funny. People that don't know me, I think, get an idea of me that's not true.
Yeah,
and it's not their fault. But it is something I kind of like. I really kind of enjoy. I just have fun with it, and so it is something that's fun,
and not me.
Yeah, it is something that's fun. I'm like the pink slime in Ghostbusters 2 that gets energized by negative energy. Like, I love it. I'm just having fun with it, and people get way mad. People get very mad.
The sporting blue slime of kids.
Yeah, that's what I am.
Okay, well, I think we did a good job of covering everything this week, so thank you very much, Zach.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate it.
Final thoughts, Thad? Something prophetic, perhaps?
I need to blow my nose.
Sporting!
The other side don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Some punters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.